everyone, it's Genesis, made by the lovely Butterfur Bakehouse, and today's video is going to be about starting a fursuit making hobby or career, whatever you want it to be, in Australia. Because it's a little bit different to the rest of the world, in some aspects anyway. Every country is a bit different. But I'm going to be sort of outlining some of those differences and ways to overcome them, and sort of just what it's like to make suits in Australia. So let's get into it. I am located in the state of Tasmania, which is a tiny little island right at the bottom of Australia. It's a little bit more cut off than the rest of the country. So in this video, it's going to be about my experiences being here. It can be a little bit different on the mainland. There's a few more stores and chains and stuff that we don't have here. And I haven't talked to a whole lot of mainland makers. I have talked to the other makers in Tassie. There's a couple of us, just sort of coming from our experience, but most of this can be applied if you live in Greater Australia as well. Before I get started with anything, if you don't know, fursuit making gets expensive. Even if you live in like the US or somewhere, you live right next to like the best fabric store in the world, it gets expensive. So just keep in mind, try budgeting if you're just starting out and figuring out sort of what everything's going to cost. Don't dive into it thinking you're going to spend 30 bucks and have a beautiful looking head, because it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. Number one that I'm going to be talking about is foam. I get all of my foam from Clark Rubber. It's technically like a pool shop, but they sell tons of foam. I think they're in every state in Australia, or at least most of them, and they're always really lovely. I normally go into them and say like, hey, I'm making a costume, this is the kind of foam I need, can you help me out? And they're like, yeah. They're always really, really lovely. I normally get like the 1-inch upholstery foam. It's normally about, I think, 15 to 20 bucks, that's Australian dollars, for a meter square, which normally does me for like 1 or 2 heads, so that's not too bad for foam. They also sell offcuts, which can be really, really handy for like feet paws and things like that, extra little bits. And they're quite a bit cheaper than buying it sort of off the whole rolly thing. Spotlight does also sometimes sell foam for like cushions and things, but it's quite a bit more expensive. I think it's normally like 20 bucks for 4 like foot squared pieces, which just really isn't very much at all. And it's like, if you've got somewhere else to go there, but otherwise Spotlight can do in a pinch if you've got the money. The next thing is fur. This is the one that I hear most from starting makers in Australia. They're like, where do I get fur? What am I doing? How do I money? If you're just starting out, the thing that I would recommend is going to Spotlight, or I think Lincraft sell the same thing, and getting the craft fur. It's about $20 a meter. It's not the greatest quality, but it's a really good place to start because it means you're not chucking all this money at something that you may not end up liking, or, you know, whatever happens. Everyone starts suits differently. But I started making fursuits with craft fur at the recommendation of my partner, who had been making suits longer than me, and she said it would just be better not wasting all that money to start with. So that's what I did, and it turned out okay. I'll put a picture in somewhere so you can see sort of what it looks like. So if you're just starting and you don't know what you're doing, a good place to start with is the cheaper craft fur. Spotlight does also sell a higher quality fur. It doesn't really have a name, it's just more expensive. It's not really luxury shag, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. It's not as like soft as good quality luxury shag, but it does have stronger backing. The only thing I found is that it's too strong of a backing, and it's like, it's so hard to explain, but it doesn't really lay along curves, like things like arm sleeves and like cheeks and things that curve around. I found it doesn't really lay flat because it's like got a really thick backing. Hey, I'm just gonna butt in here for a second. I actually found some scrap of this weird, strong Spotlight fur. I don't know if this is gonna show up on camera very well, but like it's just really, like if you try and bend it, it's really hard. And it's also like, I don't know, it's so uniform. I don't know, I'd never really liked it. This stuff here is from Big Z. It's a lot softer and it bends. And it has just more of a realistic texture as well, so I definitely recommend this over the fur from Spotlight. So it's just not so great. This stuff costs around 70 bucks a meter, so I'm going to say what my go-to for fur is, and that is Big Z Fabric. They're an American company, so you have to purchase online. And I've found that if you purchase 1 yard plus shipping to Australia, it ends up costing about 70 Australian dollars. So you could either get kind of not very good $70 fur from Spotlight, which is like, whoa, so expensive, or spend that same amount of money on some really high quality luxury shag that's really soft, it's really easy to shave, and it's very flexible, so it actually is good for fursuits. The stuff at Spotlight's made for like rugs and that kind of crap that is not fursuits. So Big Z is my favorite. They're also super supportive of furries and fursuit makers, which is awesome to see from a big company. So I definitely at least give them a look if you're sort of scouting around for prices, and always get a shipping estimate when you're checking prices as well, because that's normally what kills everything when you're shipping to Australia. So expensive! Ah! I've also looked at purchasing from pretty much every other big fur place like fabric.com, Fursuit Supplies, Mendel's, Hal Fabrics, like there's so many, and all of them I found if you're purchasing like 1 yard of like $20 US fur, it ends up costing like $80 US to get it shipped, and that's just not logical. It's so difficult to justify spending that much on one piece of fabric when there are options to get it a little bit cheaper. Big Z also has a huge range of colours. They've got something like 40 different colours in their eco shag at the moment, and they have luxury shag as well as a short shag, and I think they actually now have like a beaver shag as well, so it's the really short, dense stuff. Other materials for fursuit making are fairly basic, you know, your glue sticks, your scissors, your threads, that kind of stuff. You can normally source from, you know, like craft stores like Spotlight, Lincraft and stuff, as well as like Reject Shop, Shiploads. I actually don't know if they're on the mainland. Anyway, they're just like our really cheap kind of get everything you need stores. Costco might have them, I think that's on the mainland. My next point is look for things that are secondhand. This goes from like fur and minky and stuff all the way to sewing machines or, I don't know, foam even. Try and find stuff secondhand if you don't want to purchase stuff like that expensive from the retail place. I'm lucky enough to have some of my partner's family travels back and forth from the US regularly, so I actually have been able to get things sent to the US and then brought back for me, which has been super handy, but obviously not everybody has that option. It would be great if we did, but we do not. So even like putting out the word on like Australian furry Facebook pages or aminos and that kind of thing, seeing if there's any other makers that are local or even that aren't, it's still going to be cheaper to ship across the country than across the ocean. And see if anyone's willing to sell like, you know, fur scraps or head bases, that kind of stuff, if you're looking for that kind of thing to sort of get you started. Most makers will probably be happy just to, you know, sell a couple of scraps they're not using. Depends on the maker, obviously. I'm always happy selling my scraps, so just ask around. It's, you know, no harm in asking. Next, I'm going to be talking about pricing. Not specific prices, this is more about exchange rates. Most people will know that every country has a different currency and they vary differently in value. Australian dollars runs quite low on the value in terms of dollars around the world. I have seen some Australian makers price their suits in US dollars, and like that's fine, you can price your suits whatever you like. This is just going to be a little tip if you're pricing in Australian dollars. You can actually kind of convince people that they're getting a cheaper suit if you explain the exchange rate to them. Like, my heads start at like 450 for Australian dollars for a basic head. If you translate that to US dollars, it's like $300, or euros, it comes down to like 280. So people from like other countries who may not understand the differences in our currency versus theirs, it might be helpful to explain it to them, because then they're kind of like, oh, I'm getting a suit cheaper than what I thought I'd pay, but you as a maker still get paid what you want to get paid. So it can be a little bit beneficial in that way, but like I said, you can price your stuff however you like in whatever currency you like. My last point is about shipping. Shipping can get expensive. Everybody knows that. If you're shipping, you know, like 15 kilos of stuff across the ocean, it's going to be expensive, but some people get a little bit confused about it. Generally, it's a lot more expensive shipping out of the US than it is to ship into the US, so an Australian maker shipping to the US is not as bad as a US maker trying to ship to Australia. So sometimes I'll get like clients who come up and they're sort of like, oh, like you're Australian, I didn't know that, it's gonna be so expensive to ship a suit. And I'm like, it's not that bad. Your country has the weird shipping stuff, ours is not as terrible. So normally I think I pay like between like, obviously depends on the weight, but between maybe like $30 and $70 to ship a partial to the US, which isn't too bad, especially if you exchange rate it, they only pay like $40 or something. It's not too bad, but it's always good to explain and try and give a rough estimate to overseas customers so that they sort of know what to expect should they choose to commission you. And also shipping across Australia is not bad either, so if you're an Australian maker, then there's lots of Australian furries who would love to pick you, I'm sure, because it's sometimes a lot cheaper than trying to ship something from the US or Europe or anywhere else in the world. It's important to remember that when you're just starting out, especially if you have no background knowledge in sewing or anything, you're probably gonna make mistakes and it probably won't look like how you want it to. And that's okay. Please don't get discouraged, just keep trying, ask for help when you need it, there's no shame in that. And just keep practicing, because if you practice, then you're gonna get better and then eventually you'll be able to make the suits that you love. That's all my points for today. If you have any questions about anything, leave them in the comments, please. I will try my best to answer everything. And I may even end up doing like a part 2 to this. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I hope this has maybe been a little bit helpful. Just some of the stuff that I've sort of come across as an Australian maker myself. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video.